Hey guys, so glad to see y'all back here. It was actually kind of a challenge for me to get here and show up and do this video tonight, and I'm going to share with you why, which is right in line with our theme of talking about goals, right? And I found out through this process of doing this that it's this whole shebang we're doing here started with the intention of just being open, just being present, just showing up to let my creativity flow and listening to that heart voice. And then I started doing that and I loved it. I fell in love with it. That's why I'm still here in the discomfort, right? But then my mind started creating all kinds of ideas of what could come out of this, and I like some of them. But I found that what I noticed is once my mind started creating all these ideas, how there can be webinars, there can be seminars, we can do live events, we can have exercises, we can do all this different stuff. And I really believe that. I still want that. I think that this content can really change people's lives. But I realized that then my focus shifted from the intention of just letting the passion flow out and be in the creativity and be in the vulnerability, be in the now, to meeting the goal of get this content out there. And then what happened is once I got caught in that goal, then it became, okay, how do I make this in a way that can match what I need to meet that goal? And then we're right back at being enslaved to doing it right. And that is essentially what having a goal is. When you create a goal, basically what you say to yourself is, I am not going to be happy until I get this thing, and this process has to go a certain way to get that thing. Now we are a complete victim to whatever that thing is. In my case, getting this content out there. And it totally shuts you down and actually takes you out of the very essence you want to be in to create what you're wanting and what your heart is calling to you. And so what I'm finding is that the reason goals can actually hold you back is because what comes up with a goal? What part of you thinks of a goal? Keyword there, think. It's our brain, it's our mind that comes up with a way to do something because it thinks it knows the best way, because it thinks it knows what's right. But all of its basis for that is from the past, which is not who you are. You're just this moment. You're just the now. You're not the past. You're not those stories. You're not those things. So when we create a goal using our mind, which its basis is in the past, we're basically limiting ourselves to that potential. And basically what's happening is you're telling the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, spirituality, we don't need to argue about what it's called. We just acknowledge that something bigger is there that we can tap into. And basically what you're telling that something bigger when you make a goal is, never mind any of the help you have to offer or any of these other ways, because I got it and I know how to get there. And you just severed yourself from everything available to come into you. So I believe really strongly in a quote and some suggestions from the work of Kyle Cease. By the way, if you guys haven't checked out his work, I highly, highly recommend it. It's very much in the same grain of what we're doing here, and if you like this and you think that this is awesome, then his work is like this, just on steroids with flying monkeys, fire on the stage kind of stuff. Like, go check it out. But what he was talking about, I came across one of his videos today as I'm having all this realization that I got caught in my goal making and put down the passion. And that's actually when this became not fun for a little bit, because then it took me out of the happy and just being and so thrilled and loving this to then needing to meet this criteria to achieve something, which achieving, by the way, is never our passion. It's just our ego thinking that it needs to overcome something. And what's interesting about that is our mind is actually so wired to do that it will sabotage us to then create a fix to the problem. Like, it'll make problems out of nothing. I mean, even just these videos, I mean, my mind will do crazy stuff. It's like, it'll come up with a problem, like, you can see my totally fabulous and expensive and professional backdrop here. Behind it, there's bunk beds and a whole bunch of mess. But, I put this up. That's actually an act of my mind doing that, because I saw the mess in the bunk beds, and then I think, oh, well, that doesn't make for a very, pleasing background to this video. Let me just put this thing up. And then my mind feels good because it came up to the solution to the problem that it created. The mess behind that has nothing to do with what we're doing here. You guys probably wouldn't even notice it if it was down. So that's how crazy this can get. Our mind will come up with a problem to overcome just to prove that we can overcome it when there wasn't anything wrong in the first place. It is insane. But anyways, so the quote and what he's talking about is how an intention is so much more potent than a goal, because an intention is open-ended. An intention leaves room for creativity. If my intention is just to show up here and share my gift, share this content, connect with you guys, be vulnerable in my passion, then it doesn't matter how I do that. You see what I mean? It leaves so much space available for tons of different ways to come in, and it doesn't matter how this video goes or what happens. I'm just open being here in it. If my goal is to do it a certain way, then there's a very specific set of criteria that I have to meet to achieve that, and I'm not enjoying the journey because I'm so focused on getting to the destination. And the second part that he talks about is, he says, if I'm anxious, I know that I'm not playing big enough. And I really sat with that, and I discovered, wow, that is so true. Because think about it, when we're anxious, if we're, say we're about to go on stage, or we're about to perform a song, if we're about to ask somebody out that we haven't before, then we get all this anxiousness, and the anxiousness is because we believe that there's a specific outcome that is better than all of the other outcomes. So all that anxiousness is about trying to do, be, say the right thing, whatever it is, to get this thing that we believe is going to make us happy, that's external, that is not even part of us. And once again, we are then enslaved to this thing, to this idea. You know that you're playing big enough when you are so impassioned. And I want you to think about something that you absolutely love doing. Maybe it's mountain biking, maybe it's karate, maybe it's playing the piano, it doesn't matter. But when you are in that moment of complete passion, everything else goes away. You forget who's watching, you don't care who's listening, it doesn't matter if anyone is or not, you're just so in it that it's flowing and you're tapped into that creativity. And that's how you know you're playing big enough. When you're really listening to the heart and you are tapped into that zone, you're not trying to achieve anything. The mind is not trying to overcome anything, so you're just in it. And that is freedom, and that is why I believe that our goals are actually holding us back.